As part of our ongoing series of poetry analysis, Uncle Paulie will discuss The Road Not Taken.
How you doing? Paulie and I'm going to talk about this poem called The Road Not Taken, right? By Robert Frost. And it's about this guy, and it could be a woman, it could be a transgender guy, I don't know, it doesn't matter. They're wandering through the woods along a path, and then the path splits into two paths, right? It diverges. And so he's sitting there, he's looking at these two paths, and he's like, I don't know, which way am I going to go? Am I going to go this way or am I going to go that way? And he's pondering it for a long time, right? And he's bemoaning the fact that I'm just not going to have time to go down both of these paths. But I'm like, I don't know, the amount of time you spend with your analysis paralysis, you probably could have gone down one side and then come all the way back and then gone down the other. So I don't know what you're complaining about. You got all the time in the world. And where is this guy going anyway? I mean, does he think that these two paths go to the same place? And one's like the high road, the other one's the low road, and they're both going to Scotland? Maybe he doesn't care. I mean, who is this guy? Is he Lewis and Clark? Is he just wandering across the countryside into territories unknown? I don't know. But he's looking at these paths and he's like, okay, this one over here, it looks like not as many people went down this path. So I think maybe that's the path I should go down. And I'm thinking, maybe there's a good reason why not that many people go down that path. You know, maybe there's bears down there. Or, you know, like a wildcat or one of those pumas. You know, you don't know what's down there. There's no sign that says Toledo this way, pumas that way. And even if there was, you'd probably ignore it because you're just some wandering guy who's wandering around, doesn't care where he's going. Anyway, so he's like, I'm going to go down this way because, you know, that's the one that's less traveled. So I'm going to go down there. And he gets part way down and he's looking back and he's like, yeah, it doesn't look like it made that much of a difference there with me walking on these leaves and all that. It probably could have gone the other way. It would have been just about the same. But then suddenly he's like, okay, you know what? I'm thinking that maybe I did take the road less traveled and I'm all the better for it, right? He's sort of speculating into the future, looking back into the past and thinking, I made all the right choices when I went the less traveled route. And I don't know where he comes off with that idea. I mean, this is the guy who starts off with, he's just wandering aimlessly through the woods. And so he doesn't strike me as the wisest character on the planet, right? And how does he know he's making the right choices? But then I start thinking, you know what? It reminds me of me. And so I'm thinking, you know what, Paulie? You've done a lot of stupid stuff over the years, right? You made a lot of bad choices. You went down paths you should never have gone down, you know. But when you think about it, I think about my 3 kids, right? And if I hadn't made all the dumb mistakes and all the wrong choices, I wouldn't end up with my kids, and I wouldn't trade them for nothing, right? My kids, they're the best things ever. I got my daughter, she's the bomb, she's an artist, and so she's making her own wrong choices, but I'm going to let her do it, because that's what life's all about. And anyway, you could tell her, hey, don't make these choices, because I made them when I was a kid, and they were stupid, and they were wrong, and they're going to ignore you anyway, so why bother? And I got my 2 sons. I mean, they're a couple of knuckleheads, but they're my knuckleheads, you know, and I love them kids. I got Paulie Jr. and Paulie III. And he's not the other one's son. That was another one of my mistakes. And, you know, we'll figure that one out. But we call him Axe anyway. We call him the Axe because he was an accident, but a happy accident. He's not an unwanted child, just unexpected, right? And we call our daughter Vija, right? She's Veronica, but we call her Vija like in Star Trek, you know, the Voyager. But she's Veronica G, right? Because Gentoli. We call her Vija. She hates it. But, you know, she's got to live with that because we're the parents and we decide what we're going to call you, right? So I get a little emotional about it because, you know, they're my kids and I love them. But that's what poetry is about, right? It's about finding a connection between you now and some poem that a guy wrote in 1794 or whatever. You know, and Robert Frost isn't that old, but, you know, other poems, right? You find something to connect you, even if they're talking about, you know, forsooth and all that stuff, using words you would never use, but you find out the subtext, right? And you think that's still applicable to me in the here and now, right? So maybe at the end of the day, when we talk about I took the road less traveled, right? It's really what you're talking about is I did a really stupid bullshit mistake, but there's still some good at the end of the road, right? Literally at the end of the road, there was a good, you know. So he didn't go to Toledo. He went to Puma country, but he had some fabulous kids, and that's what he's thinking. I'm going to look back on this day, and I'm going to think, you know what? Even though I lost an arm to a puma attack, I still got my kids. So it was the right choice after all. And I'm a better man for it. I'm only an 80% man now, but 80%'s better than 70%. So that's The Road Not Taken, Robert Frost. You're welcome.